Hey everyone, I'm back with more Terraria. So, let's see what happens this time around. I jumped in only to find that the house I built is now occupied by a wolf person. She's one of the 30-something villagers that can move into my town if I build them a house. Lori here is a zoologist, and she sells a lot of stuff on animals. And she's also a wolf person. She sells a squirrel hook that allows you to latch onto trees, a book on stuff, a toy kite, a cat license, a whip. She sells all sorts of interesting stuff. My first goal was to get a bed so I could speed through nights that I didn't have anything going on. But making a bed in this game is really complicated. I'll try and explain why this is so complicated the best I can, but basically I have to use lead, wood, and chains to make a sawmill. I need the sawmill to make oak planks. I use the oak planks to make a loom, and I use a loom to make silk, and I use the silk to make the bed. Why is this so needlessly complicated? I don't know, but I did it. It took me a little while to find out that I didn't have any space for anything, because all my places were currently occupied. I built as far as I could on the flat area that I was already on because I didn't want to waste more materials building a floor by myself. So I did that, and I made it as big as I could, and I had definitely enough space. I was planning on fighting the boss that I used the lenses to summon, so I decided to check how many I needed. I could make an archery potion out of the lenses, and then I found out there were actually two eyes. There's one that summons the Eye of Cthulhu, and one that summons the twins. I know what the twins are, but I'm not good enough to fight them, so I decided I was going to make the suspicious-looking eye, which requires 6 lenses to craft. I scoured my chest looking for lenses, and I actually found out that I had 11, and I was actually going to be able to summon it maybe a couple times. I also made the loom, and I was also looking for cobwebs because for some reason, cobwebs get turned into silk in this game. After a while, I actually got the bed, and instead of skipping the night like most games do, Terraria has the bed speed up time. So if you want to summon a boss that can only be summoned at night, then you can sleep in the bed, and it speeds up time, which is actually pretty convenient. Since my tin stuff was so much better than my old stuff, I wanted to see how much tin armor was. And it was actually really expensive. The head cost 12, the chest plate cost 20, and the leggings cost 16. Add all that together, and I'm gonna need 48 tin ingots to make a full set of tin armor. I got a zombie banner also for killing 100 zombies, and every time you kill 50, you get a new poster, or banner, and it increases the amount of damage you do to that mob when you're around it. I went to the Crimson to see if I could mine Crimstone, but I couldn't, even with my new tin pickaxe. But another reason I came is because I was determined to find a Crimson altar. So I have the lenses and the materials to craft the thing to summon the Eye of Cthulhu, but to craft it, I can't just craft it on any old workbench. I need to find a Crimson altar, and that's where I can make the thing to summon it. That thing is somewhere in the Crimson. I was sure it was somewhere in that Crimstone temple that I found, so I started looking around for that. After finding it and blowing it open, I went down to see if I could find the Crimson altar. I wasn't really finding anything though, and it just seemed like a cave made out of Crimstone. Little did I know that these things right here, these things, are actually the Crimson altars I need. But I didn't know that, so I just kept continuing onwards. And then I died because I didn't have my parasol to stop me from dying from a fall. I went back and found these crimson hearts. I didn't know what they were, so I figured naturally, maybe if I flood them with this blood thing, maybe they'll burst and give me some loot. Since I couldn't break the blocks myself, I had to use explosives, which I didn't have very much of. Turns out flooding them didn't do anything. I took a mining potion to see if I could mine through the Crimstone with that, but it didn't work. I used another bomb to see if I could just mine them. I grappled up to it to see if I could stab it or mine it or something, but nothing worked. I eventually died to a blood crawler, but I needed to get a special tool from my base to break the Crimson Hearts anyway. and there wasn't really a way back since I couldn't travel back the way I came. I looked at the wiki and turns out that they're in the background, so I have to break them with a hammer, but I don't normally have my hammer, so I just gotta come back with my hammer and I should be able to break them. Turns out that the Crimson Hearts do have consequences if you break them. 2 has the chance to summon a goblin army attack, which would lead to something very bad. And a 3rd one will actually summon another boss. But I didn't know that it summoned a boss. I thought it was just something to get loot from. So I was gonna get owned if I couldn't figure it out. Before I returned to the Crimson, I wanted to go back and build houses so I could attract someone to live in my town. So a certain criteria has to be fulfilled for people to move into your town, and what I wanted to attract is an arms dealer. And an arms dealer, you have to have a ranged weapon and musket balls in your inventory, and Crimson Hearts just happened to drop those. I was also gonna need guns if I was gonna go up against any bosses, so I got to work on building a house and getting wood for the houses. I also learned about the housing tab. I could use this question thing, and if a housing was suitable, it would tell me, and if it wasn't, it would tell me what it was missing. I didn't really get how it worked quite yet. By the end of the day, I had 2 houses ready for people to live in them. I don't need a bed for some reason. I just need all walls, including the back walls, a table, and a chair, and a door. I don't know why those are the only criteria, but I'm not complaining. The next day, I grabbed my wooden hammer from the chest and returned to the Crimson. And to break it, it only took a couple hits of my hammer. And then a horrible chill went up my spine, which indicates that if I break too many, a goblin army will charge my house as long as I have more than 200 HP. And I break 2 Crimson Hearts. But I didn't know that. While I was trying to get up to break this other Crimson Heart, Marcus the arms dealer decided to come to my town. Which is good because I'm going to need all the arms I can get if I'm going to survive fighting the Eye of Cthulhu. I broke the second one and then screams echoed around me. I got the unpleasant rotting fork. Every time you break it, it drops something, and the first one gave me Undertaker. The rotting fork thing is basically a laser spear, which is actually pretty interesting. I tried to use the Undertaker, but quickly figured out I had no ammo for it. I broke my 3rd Crimson Heart, and the Brain of Cthulhu was summoned. As I said earlier, I had no idea that breaking these things summoned the Brain of Cthulhu. But I was here, and I was fighting it. I actually did a decent amount of damage, but without preparation and having been weakened from the monsters I was fighting earlier, I died. I did do a little bit of damage, and I definitely could have beaten it if I just knew that it was coming. I quickly went to Marcus to see what kinds of guns he was selling, and sure enough, he sold the ammo that I needed, musket balls. He also sold a pistol and a mini shark, which looked like a minigun. I wanted to get my hands on that, but I didn't have enough money. When you kill monsters, they drop coins, and coins you need to trade with NPCs. I got this cool jellyfish charm that makes me illuminate slightly, but it increases it once I'm in water. I also got this wand thing that summons a cloud that rains down blood that does damage. I returned to the Crimson to see if I could break these things to see if whatever happened could happen, and then they took a bite out of my health. It was like a lot of my health. Then I realized that I probably shouldn't break them, so I went downwards. And then I found another one. Somehow not learning my lesson, I went and broke more Crimson Hearts. I discovered by pure accident that this thing was the Crimson Altar because I opened my inventory when I was around it. But I wanted to fight that boss that night, so I decided to craft this suspicious looking eye and then teleport home. One of the Crimson Hearts I broke earlier actually dropped a Crimson Heart that illuminates and makes light for me. Anyways, I decided for some reason to summon the Eye of Cthulhu at my house, which probably wasn't a good idea because you need a lot of area to move around. But here it is, the giant eye of the primordial god. I was doing a lot of damage to him, but then he went underground and then resurfaced as this. Ugh, and I thought his earlier version was disgusting. I died, but it was really late at this point, so I had to log off. So that really sucks. And when I got back, the eye was gone. So I had to go all the way back to the Crimson to craft another suspicious-looking eye to summon the boss again. Thankfully, though, I had enough lenses to make another one. I went to Marcus and bought a couple musket balls so I could use the Undertaker in my next battle against the Eye of Cthulhu. I went through my chest to get some wooden platforms, I'll tell you about that later, when a goblin army started approaching me from the west. As I said, I had no clue that this was coming because I didn't know that breaking the Crimson Hearts could result in something like this. But anyways, I had to start to kick some butt before these guys killed my villagers. And it seemed to be working. My fork was actually killing them all. The worst part were the mages. They could shoot projectiles at me through walls. If I can't hit you through walls, then why can you? Anyways, Andrew and Marcus took shelter in my house because they were driven out by the monsters. But a zoologist was nowhere to be seen. And there she is here. I don't know how she's surviving out here or why she isn't running, but not too long after that, I died. But then something happened. An entire mass of goblins came from this side of my house, and Marcus was in the mob. Eventually, they killed him. He was dead. I didn't know what to do, but I couldn't worry about that right now because there were still so many goblins to take care of. It seemed like this mob would never end. But then Andrew, he came out from his shelter in the mines. And then he died because he got caught in another mob of goblins. So over half my town was dead at this point. I was making my way through the mobs, and I was almost finished. I hadn't received any word that Lori had died, but then I saw her over there. She's fine. But then I died. I got the achievement Goblin Punter for killing an entire army. But there were still goblins left. They were just leaving. So I survived, but it wasn't without consequences. I quickly went through all the houses and replaced all the doors that had been broken because goblins can break down the doors. As I went through, though, a new arms dealer had moved into my town, which is how it works. So NPCs can die, but that doesn't mean they can't be replaced. So this new guy, Jamal, was the new arms dealer. Their names changed, but they still all function the same. But I was worried about Andrew. Andrew is a guide, and he's a starting NPC, as in he starts the game. So I was worried that he is gone because he didn't move into my town. He was just always here. Since a new house was free after Andrew died, Frank the merchant decided to move into it, which I wasn't very happy with, but hey, a new NPC is a new NPC. After reading a wiki, it turns out that if my guy dies, then he functions like any other NPC would. So if there's an empty house, there's a chance that he'll move into it. I also went over to see what the new guy was selling. He was selling a mining helmet that provides light when I'm wearing it, which is actually pretty good. He sells arrows, copper stuff, a net, an anvil, a piggy bank, and all sorts of stuff, and even a sickle. I wanted to get some coins to get the mining helmet, and then I saw that a new NPC had joined. We're just getting new ones left and right here. This one was a nurse that you can pay to heal you, which I don't really need because I have so many healing potions, but if I needed it, it's here. I wanted to get all the NPCs so I could buy everything from their shops, and I saw that I had around 10 left. So I decided I was going to build 10 houses so I could have all the NPCs and buy all the things I needed from them. After further examination, turns out there are actually 32 and not 12. But I just realized this while watching over the footage, but Lori evolved into a fox instead of a wolf, which is actually interesting, but I didn't notice it when I was playing, and I'm just now noticing it now. That indicates that she's leveled up and now sells new things, which is very important for progressing in the game. Anyways, I was building houses, and it took a while, so this is me moving 8 times the speed as what I was actually moving. I was also deciding to use stone back plates instead of wood ones like I've been using since I needed wood for literally everything else. Anyways, I spent all night trying to build enough houses. This house ended up being too small, so I had to keep building it outwards. So I built that, and then I realized that I was going to need around 9 more to fit all the rest of the NPCs. And there's also when I figured out that there's actually a special slot for my grappling hook. So I put it in that slot, and that's why I earned the achievement, Hold On Tight! By the end of the day, I had 2.5 new houses, and then Frank the traveling merchant decided to come by. He is a traveling merchant, so he doesn't stay in the town. But the stuff he sells might be really rare, so I should have probably checked him out. But I didn't really pay attention to him. I was too busy trying to figure out how my money trough works. I spent the next day working on houses too, and also I kept getting new guys moving into my town, like a guy who sells dynamite, bombs, and grenades. He's a miner, but I guess that's why he sells explosives. A dye trader moved in, and even a painter. I was getting close to finishing all the houses I needed, and this guy Shipton came in. I forgot what his deal is, but he looks like the Mad Hatter. By the beginning of the next day, I was finished. Oh, and by the way, I did get a new guide. His name is Cody. And then I saw that my NPC tab had expanded. So I thought there was only like 12, I think. I forgot how many they were showing before, but now they were showing all 36, I think. 32, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's in the 30s, I know that. But yeah, so I had a lot more house building to do, but I was getting tired of it. I've been working on it for 2 straight Terraria days, so I was going to call it in and go do something else. I made another quick dash to the Crimson to craft another suspicious-looking eye. So this was going to be my second attempt at fighting the Eye of Cthulhu. I was getting wood to make some wooden platforms to get ready for the boss fight. Why wooden platforms? Well, the main way you beat bosses in Terraria is moving around them. And I don't want to be on solid ground for that, so I picked the side of the giant mountain that I went through. Yes, through. And I went through and built platforms all the way to the top. Most of it was boring, but I did end up killing my 50th demon eye while I was building them. I had them finished by the end of the night, and I made them mostly vertical so I could utilize my Crimson Rain. By the way, while I was fighting, I got this raincoat that for some reason protects me more than my cactus armor. Terraria logic, ladies and gentlemen. Terraria logic. Before I went to fight the Eye of Cthulhu, I wanted to buy the mini shark, but I didn't have enough gold. And the description cracked me up. Half shark, half gun. Completely awesome. I needed something to do while the day was getting over with, and I found this magic mirror. If I looked into it, it would teleport me back to my base. So that makes potions of recall near useless, since now this is infinitely reusable. I returned to the area with all the sand and the giant worms to mine and see how far it goes down and to see what other biomes are down here. I died after getting knocked into lava by a zombie, but that was almost a good thing since it was nighttime, so I could now go and fight the Eye of Cthulhu that I've been building up to this entire episode. Since I knew it came from the sky, I went to the top of my platforms and summoned it. The Eye of the Sea Monster came to fight, and somehow there are more demon eyes coming in, so I just had to shoot it, and my shots were actually doing a good chunk of damage. It might look like I'm doing very little damage, but it's damage build up over time, and I was keeping myself safe so I wouldn't die, because if you die, I would be too far away to get back before the eye left. Now, fast forward through the first phase because it just charges at me and doesn't do anything special other than summon other demon. After taking half of its health, it turned into this. It dropped its iris and just revealed its teeth. It was still pretty much the same fight, it just charged after me, which is why you need the platforms to fight it, so you can easily evade its attacks. I barely had him below 500, but my Crimson Cloud turned out to be extremely effective. My gun was out of ammo, but just like that, I killed the first boss of Terraria. the Eye of Cthulhu was dead, and I got the achievement, Eye on You. I ended up getting some crimson stuff. I got the crimson ore ingots, and I looked at all that stuff later. I looked at all the stuff I could craft with my crimson ore, and I wanted to make the pickaxe, because if the pickaxe is made out of crimson stuff, then it should be able to mine crimson stuff. But I didn't have enough ingots to make it, so oof. I was about to leave to explore more of the forest to the right when a dryad came into my town. Her name was Celestia. I'm not exactly sure what she is, but she's some kind of nature person. I also wanted to test something. She sold something called purification powder, and it said it cleanses the darkness. And what it means by that is I splash it on crimstone and it turns it into normal stone. Anyway, skip to the forest. I found this forest cave that looked like it might have something, but it was just a cave that was in the forest. Found bamboo that I didn't know what to do with, but then Crimson Eye started attacking me. That's how long I was out here for. Then I did something really stupid. I accidentally deposited the money trough, the thing that allows me to summon the piggy bank, in the piggy bank. So I was having to find that again, but then I died, and I was worried that the thing despawned, and so did everything inside of it. To get my mind off it, I decided to explore the other direction since I hadn't done it really that much. I went to the other side, the icy tundra. It was basically the forest, but with ice physics. Anyways, back to the point. I found another forest on this side, and I found another desert, but then something strange kind of happened. I kept going through. I defeated my 50th Chimera because I found a crimsonified desert. There were crimson palm trees and crimson cactuses. I was confused. I found this old man in a temple who told me to come back at night if I wanted to enter his dungeon. But I said that I wanted to go now. And then I talked to him, and he said my master cannot be summoned in the light of day. And that's when I realized this might have been the place where you summoned Skeletron, which I didn't really know if I was ready for him, but I entered anyway. I was trying to destroy these spikes, but then a skeleton came by and killed me. It was a dungeon guardian, and I dropped gold, which is bad because gold is very valuable. I didn't want to go back, and I wanted to finish things up, so I just bought some dynamite from Garval. But anyways, that's gonna finish it for this installment of my Terraria series. Alright, goodbye!